If you've been in crypto for any length of time, this kind of downturn, it probably feels a little familiar, right? A lot like that quiet period we had after 2021. It's so easy to feel like you should just, wait it out. But what if I told you that for the disciplined folks, this isn't a time for waiting at all. It's a time for positioning. So today, we're going to break down a framework for doing exactly that.
So that really is the big question, isn't it? When all the noise fades and the hype just dies down, what's the real difference between the people who get washed out and those who actually build a foundation for the next big cycle? It's not about trying to find the next 100x coin. It's about having a deliberate, quiet strategy.
And that's exactly what we're calling the quiet strategy. It's a whole philosophy, really. And it's all about turning these market lulls into a serious advantage. It's about recognizing that the work you do now, during these quiet years, is what really sets the stage for all the growth that's coming.
At its heart, the idea is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Instead of just sitting on the sidelines, the disciplined people out there, they're actively building. They're laying the groundwork. They're strengthening their foundations for whatever comes next. So how does this actually work in practice? Let's get into the first pillar.
Okay, so pillar one is all about getting your financial house in order. We call it the accumulation model, and it's a simple, repeatable way to manage your resources for that long-term growth, no matter what the market is doing day to day. And look, this isn't about just winging it and hoping for the best. It's about having a super clear plan for where your capital goes so that every single decision you make is moving you forward, even when the market is just going sideways. Take a look at this breakdown. It's a simple but really effective 10-30-30-30 split. Okay, so 10% goes to platform fees. That's just the cost of doing business in Web3. You can't avoid it. But then you've got three equal pillars. 30% for operations to keep the lights on, 30% for growth to expand your reach, and, now this is the key, 30% dedicated solely to accumulation. This builds asset acquisition right into your model. It's not an afterthought, it becomes a default action. And here's the crucial point. Steady accumulation is not just about saving money. It's a strategic practice. By consistently acquiring assets when prices are low and nobody's really paying attention, you're building an advantage that is going to pay off big time when the market eventually turns. It's a classic long-term play, and you know what? It works. All right, so you've got your financial house in order. That's great, but what's next? You need to expand. And that brings us right to the second pillar, building regional bridges. And this isn't just about finding new customers. It's about creating meaningful, long-term connections. A perfect example of this in action is the current focus on strengthening the connection between Japan and the ASEAN region. In fact, this is such a huge priority that I'll personally be heading to Japan soon to help push this very goal forward. And this really gets to the why of it all. See, on one side, you have Japan with this huge, curious, and incredibly disciplined audience. On the other side, you have the ASEAN region, which is just a hotbed of innovation. The goal here is to connect these two, not with short-term hype, but by building a real community around education and long-term participation. That is how you create a connection that actually lasts. And speaking of building in the open, on December 9th, there's going to be a public talk with the founder of Seven Dao. This is going to be a deep dive into the philosophy behind this whole regional strategy and how it all connects back to that accumulation model we just talked about. Now, all of this, the financial discipline, the regional bridges, it all rests on one final, absolutely crucial pillar: prioritizing literacy over hype. This is about building a community that's not just along for the ride, but one that is educated, confident, and is truly in it for the long haul. I mean, just look at this comparison. On one side, you have the crazy roller coaster of hype. It's all speculation, chasing trends, and making reactive emotional decisions. And on the other, you have the steady growth that comes from literacy, long-term understanding, confident participation, and learning from real-world examples. One is like a sugar rush, and the other is a sustainable meal. We want to help people operate on the right side of this chart, for sure. So how do you actually build this kind of literacy? Well, it's a three-pronged approach. First, you have public talks, like the one with Seven Dao we just mentioned. Second, you bring in guests from totally outside of Web3 to give a broader perspective on the economy, personal growth, you name it. And third, you use digital assets themselves as learning tools. Take the token OC, for example. Instead of just looking at it as some ticker to trade, it's treated like a living, breathing case study. By watching it, community members can learn firsthand how ecosystems actually work, how narratives get built, and how value moves across different chains. This is how you go from being just a speculator to being a real student of the market. So when you put it all together,
The solid financial plan, the strategic expansion, and the focus on education, it all really boils down to one powerful idea: the power of consistency. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? None of these actions are dramatic. They're not going to make headlines. They are small, deliberate steps. But when you take them consistently, day in and day out, those are the actions that will absolutely shape the next 3 to 4 years.
So, what's your path forward from here? It really comes down to these three simple things: build your understanding, express your thoughts, and accumulate steadily. This is the quiet strategy. It's not about trying to time the market, it's about what you do while you're waiting. And trust me, that can make all the difference.